that brings us to this week's three-notched weekly preview. JMU continues their homestand after their 1-1 weekend. This weekend, Wednesday, Saturday games this week, right?
I think so. No, Thursday.
Wednesday next week?
Yeah.
Okay.
No. What? Yep. Wednesday that next week.
Thank you. So Thursday, Saturday this week, starting things off on Thursday, the ULM Warhawks, coached by Keith Richard, who's in his 14th season as the head man. They come into the bank. The Warhawks bring a 4-11 record, 0-5 in Sunbelt play, and they're 327th in KenPom. They're in the midst of an 8-game losing streak, and their last win came against champion Christian. They don't have a lot of great guys, but keep an eye on Savian Gallion. He's their best offensive player. But the guy they use on 25% of offensive possessions, Nika Metskirshverveli, is kind of their big. Okay, the last name is spelled M.
I saw it.
I'm spelling it out for the podcast listeners. His last name is Metskshvali. That's hard.
Nika. We'll call him Nika.
Nika. He used a lot for ULM. ULM, terrible offensively. They turn it over at a high clip. They're also terrible defensively. This is going to be a game where JMU needs to find their rhythm and try and use this game as a jumping off point going into Saturday's game.
ULM sucks. Like, they don't do anything well with respect to ULM. They're terrible. So this is one that, like JMU should absolutely boat race them. They played Houston to open the season. They scored 31 points, which is not good. You never want to do that. They get blown out most games. They lose most of their games against D1 teams by double digits. So it's just not a very good basketball team.
Then on Saturday, it's going to be a potentially great Sunbelt game as Marshall, the 9-9 Thundering Herd, come in with a 4-1 conference record. They're 189 in KenPom, coached by Dan D'Antoni in his 10th season. This year, Cam Crawford, a 6'5 sophomore, is their most used player. He comes off the bench for them, but he is used a lot when he comes in. Nate Martin, the 6'8 junior, has been amazing offensively this year, has 120 offensive rating, which is, I believe, in the top 400 in the nation, which is a really good benchmark to have for the Thundering Herd. Their offense is going to have to find a rhythm against JMU's defense. Marshall's offense isn't necessarily great. Their best offensive option is the three-point shot, and that's been JMU's best area defended on the court. And then on the offensive side for JMU, they're the 40th best team in the nation with a 54.7% shooting percentage inside the arc. And what I was saying earlier, they're one of the best teams in the entire Sun Belt at shooting inside the 2-point line. So they're really going to have to play well against a Marshall defense that is 146th in the nation in defending the two. What's your expectation for that Marshall game that could have large implications, kind of like the App State Saturday game? This could have large implications on how the Sun Belt shakes out going out.
Should be a good crowd. Brian Reese will be there getting loud, so it'll be an engaged atmosphere. Marshall plays fast, so this is like going to be fun to watch because both teams like to go up and down. The number one thing I'm looking for JMU in this 2-game set of games, control the pace, right? This is one that I feel like against App State, they kind of played to App State's slower defensive style and just let that game happen like that.
Has there ever been a game where JMU imposes their style on the opponent?
Not against like quality teams, at least. But I think these teams are like not good enough. And Marshall wants to play that pace, but can't actually score as well as they usually do. So they play fast, but they're not efficient. Both these games, and ULM plays a little bit slower, but they're so bad that they can't really dictate pace. If you're JMU, like, impose your will, play fast, get out in transition, which makes it a lot easier to play in a rhythm. And if you're in like a shooting slump, it's easier if you're running down the floor, catch and shoot. You don't have a lot of time to think instead of these contested half-court, slower possessions. So I think if you're JMU, play a little bit quicker, play your style, and sort of impose that. And if the Dukes can do that, I think they can start to get themselves back on track. But I think they need to view themselves like the type of potential, mid-low major power that they can be this year and really impose their style on somebody for the first time in a couple weeks.
Yeah, our friend over at Mid-Major Madness, Nick Lorenzen, dropped the Dukes pretty far in his mid-major top 25. They went from top 15 to 22nd. So they got to get back up there.
They got to get back up there. You want to be in Nick's good graces.
Yeah, harsh but fair. It was a harsh but fair ruling. So what's your 2-0 weekend? Is a 2-0 weekend? Is this a must-have 2-0 weekend?
Yeah, if you go 2-2 in this homestand, I think you're feeling pretty bummed.
Yeah, because I think you're going 2-2 to finish out the season. We'll get to that later in the year.